Good afternoon, everyone. So we're gonna wait a little bit for everyone else to join so that we can start. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our seminar, The Invisible Drug of Today, Digital Addiction. I am Mishka from PS224, and I will be your MC for today. So first of all, let me just introduce you all to our organizing members. So our members are Aiden, Mary, Aditya, myself, Hannah, and Effie. Thank you all for being here. This seminar is designed specially for university students, educators, and anyone who regularly uses digital devices, so essentially all of us. Today's session will explore what digital addiction is, why it has become so prevalent, and how it affects our daily lives. Our objectives for today are to raise awareness about the risks of digital addiction, to understand its impact on mental health, productivity, and social life, and to explore practical strategies to manage screen time and build a healthier balance with technology. We hope that this session will be both engaging and meaningful for everyone. So, without further delay, let's begin. To start us off, I'd like to invite our first speaker, Aidan. He will introduce the concept of digital addiction, including its different forms, and guide you through a live Mentimeter session to explore your own screen habits. So please stay engaged and participate actively. Aiden, the floor is yours.
So thank you so much for the introduction, Mishka. So to reiterate, my name is Aiden, and I'll be walking you through an introduction into what digital addiction is. So when we hear the words digital addiction, we picture many things, like a person who is stuck to their phone, or that one viral image of everyone being grabbed by their phones that their dad has sent into their family chat once in their life. We think of chronically online individuals, doom scrolling and more. So I personally want to explore what all of you think about when you hear the words digital addiction. So I have a short Mentimeter here. So please scan it and please input in your answers. Okay. Please give me some answers. Doom scrolling too much. Yes. Doom scrolling again. Glued to your phone. I just said that. So doom scrolling seems to be a very big part. But what else do you think about when you hear digital addiction? Instagram, a culprit for the many of us. Video games, every second of your phone. Yes, it could seem like that. Can't live without phone. Ooh, very interesting. 67676. The trend, eh? Twitter, Reels, video games. So yes. So I can see that when you guys hear digital addiction, you think about digital platforms, you know, uh, Instagram, social media, trends like 667. But doom scrolling seems to be a very large part, which I think some of my group members will cover. Social media, brain rot, exactly. Right. So thank you so much for that. So let's move on to. So yeah, all of you are correct. Gold star, but please stay in the Mentimeter and I'll be asking more questions later on. So if we were to look at the actual definition of digital addiction, it is an impulse control disorder which involves the obsessive use of digital devices and digital platforms, which is a very wide spectrum. Like, for example, gaming. I personally love gaming. I've spent a lot more time gaming than I would care to admit. And social media. I'm sure all of us here are on social media, as just answered. I'm sure many of us here are on social media, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, all of us have one. And yes, communication apps like WhatsApp do count. But digital addiction can also manifest in more extreme cases. Extreme cases like online gambling, an activity that is risky because it involves, you're betting actual money on it. And it's basically just gambling without a physical casino. So just from these few examples I gave you, you can definitely see how wide digital addiction can manifest. But here's the dilemma. Our phones are very useful. I can call anyone, anytime from anywhere. I do a lot of work on my laptop a lot, and everything we do in real life contains a digital addiction of some kind, making us believe that we aren't addicted. We kind of fail to notice that we may be already addicted. So I want to ask you another question to weigh how you think about your phones. Would you rather? Would you rather lose your phone for a week or your water for a week? Meaning that there's no water coming into your house. And don't create a loophole like, oh, I'll borrow my mom's phone or something like that. No, no, no. No phone for a week. So please answer this. It's also in the Mentimeter. All right. What for a week? Okay. So while the audience is answering this, I would like to turn this question to one of my group mates. Mary, which one would you pick out of these two? Would you rather lose your phone or water for a week?
Thank you for the question, Aiden. Honestly, I'd rather lose water for a week and I'd pick my
Really?
phone. Yeah, because
Mm,
if you think about it, right? I mean, at least
yes.
personally, I use my phone for so much more than just entertainment. Like I use my phone to keep in contact with my friends and family. Um, and like I do work on my phone also. You know, like you have can Google Docs and Google
Yes.
Drive on your
Google
phone.
Docs.
Yeah, and if you think about it, even for all of us in IMU, we use our phones to take attendance as well every day in class.
Yes, that's a very good point you bring up. You know, my IMU is on my phone. If I don't have my phone, how am I gonna sign attendance kind of thing? Mm.
Yeah. And if you think about it, right, like how many times in your life have you lost water to your house? I think in certain parts of this city or this state is pretty common, right? But when have you ever went a week without your phone since you got it? Maybe when you were a teenager. I think that's pretty rare, right?
Yeah, I feel like ever since I've got my phone, I've never been without it. You know,
Yeah.
I live in Selangor and water losses are almost constant. Yeah.
Yeah,
So thank you so
exactly.
much for thank you so much for answering that, Mary. So from the few participants that answered, thank you so much for answering. It seemed like the majority of you would actually lose your phone for a week. So either a lot of you guys have a lot of hobbies, or you see that your phone is maybe not a very vital part in your life. Okay, going back to the slides. So this question was mainly asked because I wanted to see how many of you would rather lose a biological necessity, I would say, which is water, compared to your phones. So, but the phone one, so that's very interesting. So moving on for you guys to reflect on more, we have some statistics. It can be seen that in Malaysia, 99.4% of the population is online, and that 29% are is actually addicted to the internet. 29% is actually quite a lot of people. That's more than a quarter of the Malaysian population, which is very, very large. But let's look at the average Malaysian. It can be seen that the average Malaysian spends 8 hours, 17 minutes staring at their phone a day. That's basically a third of the day spent just on a digital screen. But let's see how we compare. What is your screen time? You know, we all have that app where it tracks your screen time. So let's pull that up and not be shy. It's all anonymous. So tell me what your average screen time is. I'll also answer this. Okay, 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours. Let me pull up my phone. 13 hours? That's a big, big number. 6 hours and 7 minutes. Haha, very funny. 10 hours, 3 hours and 6 minutes, 6 to 7 hours. Wow, a lot of you seem to spend 6 to 7 hours on your phone. Very interesting. Personally, for me, it's like a daily average of 4 hours, 8 hours. Okay, 9 plus hours. Okay, 25 hours? There's not even 24 hours in a day. How do you manage that? How did you manage that? Okay, so just from this low sharing, it seems to be very 50-50 with in this audience. So very interesting. Let me just my slides. Yeah. So it seems like a lot of us here are either below, like on either average or above average. So very interesting. It's something for all of you to reflect on. And another question: what is your most used app? Sorry for this kind of scuffed. What is your most used app? Is it something that could be more productive, like I don't know, Google Doc that Mary just mentioned, or something more entertainment like TikTok, WhatsApp? Ooh, communication is key. 小红书, wow. WhatsApp, Instagram. Instagram Reels is a very, very potent part of our lives, I would say. Okay, Canva, a designer maybe. Douyin. Mm. Wow, seems like the biggest ones are Instagram and TikTok. Hmm. Anything else? Threads, another messaging app, I believe. Safari, wow. Facebook, ooh, we got maybe an older person here. I like joke. Chrome, Netflix. So it seems like the majority of you use your phones for entertainment purposes. And maybe even a few of you are using it for, Chrome for information. Calculator, a mathematician is here. Google Doc, ooh, a very, how to say, productive person maybe. Okay. So something to reflect on. Seems like the most of you, a lot of us are plagued with TikTok, Instagram, something to maybe like short form content where we endlessly doom scroll, as previously mentioned. Okay. So thank you so much for that. So to end things for me, I wanted to show you guys some signs of digital addiction. People who constantly check their phones for updates, losing track of time while scrolling social media, and many more that are listed here. It is something that I feel many of us here relate to, and I believe at least one or two of these points can be applied to us. So I just wanted to stress the importance of reflecting on our devices and our screen time. Yes, they are something that's very important to us, but if used too much, it can become an issue to both our mental and physical health. So managing it is very important. So to leave things off, I kind of just wanted to say to try and live in the moment and be mindful of our surroundings and not just our devices. So thank you. That is all from me. Passing it back to Vishka.
Thank you, Aiden, for that insightful introduction. Next, we have Aditya, who will be discussing why digital addiction has become so prevalent, especially in recent years, and its implications. Aditya, please go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mishka. So, the two main reasons why digital addiction has become so popular is COVID and the rise of short form content. Now, during COVID, we all went through lockdown, right? All of our socialization was mostly done online. We went to school online, we met our friends online. Okay. There wasn't really a lot of like things that we could do in person to interact with each other. So this increased our general online exposure and device and our smartphone use. This also caused a lot of social isolation and loneliness during the pandemic, as those who weren't able to adapt to socializing online and ended up using the devices to substitute their social needs. And pandemic related stress, anxiety, and fear were linked with higher social media and smartphone use, turning digital media into a coping tool for a great many people. Another thing that happened during this time was the rise of short form content. Now, I'm sure every single one of you have scrolled Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, or something like that, right? Okay, when we scroll, okay, it doesn't take a lot of effort to scroll and it delivers very rapid, repeated novelty, right? You don't have to worry like, oh, I have to search up this to get the video I want to watch. As long as you scroll, you'll end up finding something you like eventually, right? Okay, this has led to the this has led to an incredibly easy to access source of entertainment that we can access whenever we want. This has been linked to poorer attention and weaker self-control, especially in younger users, such as Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Short form video use has also been associated with procrastinations and other signs of compulsive engagement. Like if you're bored or if you're doing anything, I'm sure everyone who has spent a bit too much time on TikTok or whatever, they've had the urge to just pull their phone out and start scrolling. You're waiting for your bus or you're in a lift or whatever, just start scrolling because it's so easy to access, right? And it's so prevalent. There's no stigma associated with it, really. And this has led to the development of negative behaviors like doom scrolling. That was the main thing that everyone associated internet addiction with, right? So let's do doom scrolling, social withdrawal, and impulse buying. Okay. Because when you notice something you like on these short form content apps, okay, it will constantly remind you. How many of you have felt that you were thinking about a product and all of a sudden it just showed up on your feed? Like you were thinking, oh man, I really want a new pen. And then all of a sudden you just start getting like Parker, Safari, whatever ads on your timeline. Or if you were thinking about a new perfume or a new style of clothes and just showed up somehow randomly. Well, that is because of the algorithms these short form content apps use, which leads to impulse buying. And this has also led to a lot of excessive screen time. Stress is also a major factor to this because when you're feeling high stress, okay, you want to reach for an instant, low effort, low cost stress release, right? You don't want to do something that is, um, a bit more like it takes a lot more effort to maybe like you want to set up a hangout with your friends or whatever. It takes a bit more effort to do that instead of just reaching into your pocket and pulling out your phone. And this doesn't actually resolve the stressor, but it instead creates a cycle where reaching for your phone is the first thing on your mind after a stressful event. and eventually it reaches a point where stressful cues start triggering automatic checking or scrolling. Like for example, there have been like memes and stuff where people have mentioned where instead of when they reach their phone to like call someone for an emergency or whatever, they accidentally end up opening TikTok instead. Like it's just such a habitual subconscious response in a lot of people at this point. Next slide, please. But more generally, this has led to Gen Z becoming the heaviest internet users, and nearly six. And on average, we spend around 18 hours on the internet daily. Okay, at the higher end of the spectrum. And in a study, they found that that over half of the respondents aged 10 to 19 were addicted to the internet in some way or form. Next slide, please. In terms of the biological impact this has had on us fellow Gen Zs, this has resulted in disturbed sleeping patterns. Okay, I'm sure all of us have experienced this at some point in time. You just end up going to sleep at like 4 a.m. and then waking up at 8 for class. Okay, very few of us actually are getting the 8 hours of sleep we need every night. This leads to reduced sleep quality and physical strain such as eye strain, headaches, and a tendency for sedentary behavior and issues in posture, where you are. Has anyone ever heard of desk hump? Okay, where you end up looking forward and leaning forward so much that the base of your neck ends up becoming protruded, and you end up ending up in a slouched posture. This has also led to psychological impact, such as heightened anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. And this has also caused a lot of exposure to internet content. Has anyone else felt like the stigma against certain, like, sexual acts or sexual jokes or profanity has gone down a lot in recent years? Well, a part of this has been due to the early exposure to this kind of content, and this has also led to a general impairment in cognitive and emotional regulation. In terms of the behavioral impact this has on Gen Z, is that we end up at higher risk of becoming victims or perpetrators of cyber violence. I'm sure everyone has seen like the comments on like an Instagram reel or TikTok comment and stuff. Even with the moderation they have in place, I'm sure you've seen some truly hateful comments being posted, right? That you can't even imagine people would dare say these things in person. This has led to a rise in hate speech, cyberbullying, and trolling, and people being more vulnerable to radical opinions. And this has led to an overall sedentary lifestyle as well, where the amount we spend outdoors or doing sports has gone down. Next slide, please. How now, in terms of adults, a systematic review was conducted and found that uh, nearly 27% of adults had smartphone addiction, and nearly 15% of them had internet addiction. And there was an observed clear upward trend over the past 2 decades, which spiked during the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. This has led to a general reduction in gray matter volume in prefrontal and limbic areas. So these are the parts of the brain that are responsible for decision making and emotional regulation. You saw earlier how I mentioned in the short term, okay, it can lead to difficulty with like maintaining your emotions and behavior, right? Okay, over time, especially in the older population, these results have been especially pronounced. And there has also been a reduced connectivity between reward and executive control networks, which has led to the aforementioned, low impulse control or impulse buying. And this has led to hypoactivation, where people feel less motivated overall to do what they need to do. In terms of the psychological impact, this has increased loneliness and isolation because online engagement tends to replace face-to-face interaction. And social media has also lowered self-esteem due to people comparing themselves online. Since social media tends and other most digital things tend to push viewpoints to either extreme of like super rich or super poor. Okay, it becomes hard for people to gauge on like what point they need to be realistically. And this has altered their perceptions and preferences, leading to lower self-esteem. And this has also led to lower attention span, focus, and working memory, similar to what has happened to the Gen Zs. In terms of the behavioral issues for adults, this has led to work absenteeism, relationship conflict, financial loss, and deteriorating physical cleanliness and conscientiousness. And these are all factors that are very similar to what happens during actual substance addictions, such as drugs or alcohol. It's just not, seen as with the same severity due to the overall dependence that we have on our internet and our smartphones and such. And I think that's all from my end. So I'd like to return the slides to Mishka. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aditya. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Alexis Chang Wan On. Mr. Alex is an award-winning senior lecturer in psychology at IMU University from the School of Psychology and Social Sciences. His work focuses on improving well-being through education, and he has been actively involved in several e-mental health projects. He had also explored topics such as stress among digital workers, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, making his insights especially relevant to today's discussion on digital addiction. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Alex.
Thank you, Mishka, for the introduction. All right, so I think I have somewhat of a unique insight into this topic, as I actually have, because we're looking at a multi-generational perspective as well. I actually have a daughter who's Gen Alpha, another daughter Gen Z. I'm Gen X. Okay. Then I also have in contact with my mom, who is like way older generation as well. And I can see the differences in how we utilize social media, as an example, and how we are addicted for different forms, including gaming, as an example. So I'd like to present some information in some slides. And I think this could be set the tone for the different generational aspects of things. All right. All right. So Gen Alpha, as an example. So Gen Alpha is the youngest generation, from 2010 to 2025, as an example. So this is the first generation where basically, from the moment that they are born and every day thereafter, they are familiar with digital devices. It's actually quite common that young babies in the months itself, before they are a year old, they're given a tablet, they're given the older smartphone, right? So that they can be distracted, so that they don't disturb the parents, so that they can stay quiet, right? So very common when I go out to eat a meal with my family, I would notice the parents on their own devices, and then the kid with their own device, usually a tablet, and playing some children's song really, really, really loud, as an example. So what's happened here is that the Gen Alpha has, from the young stage, the ability to just swipe or select another option if this is not something exciting for them. So eventually, what happens is that they don't develop the executive function to make proper decisions. It's just what is attractive to them, or they would be playing something over and over and over again because there's something that they like, as an example. Okay, so these behaviors will actually alter their baseline cognitive development. So when we look at these aspects, okay, okay, don't know, I can't share properly, so okay, so when we look at these aspects, what we tend to notice is the effect that it will have on them, such as, okay, the cognitive perspective will be affected, okay, whereby they would have reduced attention span. So when you have the ability to just scroll and move forward or go back, life doesn't happen that way. But on screen time, this is what happens, and then they just move forward. So when it comes to in real life interactions, they don't have that patience and capacity to wait for things to happen. They just want things to happen immediately because that's how they've been trained since young. Just skip forward, move forward, or select something else. In terms of the emotional aspects as well, they would tend to have increased anxiety and profound social isolation because they have not been focused on communication. In fact, they've been given a device to actually keep them occupied. So they don't actually develop the social skills along the way. Then the social aspect as well, diminished empathy and inability to read non-verbal cues. When we interact with real people, we say something, we watch for a response, we see the non-verbal features, we hear back the response. But when we watch a screen, we just choose it. The screen doesn't give us feedback, neither does it evaluate us. So we don't learn how to connect with somebody else. And we don't learn to read nonverbal cues from the other party because essentially the other side is a screen giving us what we want. And then from a behavioral standpoint as well, there's a strong compulsive pursuit of instant gratification, right? Moving exactly to what we want really, really quickly. As an example, we don't like this video, we just choose another one. As an example. Okay. Now let me move on to Gen Z. So I think this is where I think most of the participants are on today, for example. So the short form videos, like I think where Aditya mentioned, has changed the way we actually look at and consume social media, as an example. One key factor is effortlessness. And this is the key. Default autoplay algorithms remove the conscious decision to engage. Last time, we would have to open the app, scroll for the content, and then click play. Now, you open the app. YouTube, just take YouTube as an example. You click YouTube, straight away, there's a short form content. You didn't choose it. It shows it's been selected for you, as an example, right? So the least steps it takes to get it going, the more we get engaged from the beginning. So it's very effortless. Then there's the concept of serendipity as well. Serendipity happens where it's like a lucky finding. We were searching for something else, but we found something even better along the way. And that is very, very reinforcing because it's like, oh, I wasn't even looking for this, and I got reinforced for something else that was even better. And therefore, that hook, that reinforcement, we just want to keep going because you don't know where is the next hit, where is that next amazing emotional connection or funny meme or something else that we just spark our day, as an example. So we keep scrolling. Okay. Now, in that moment, then we get into the flow state because once we are in it, you scroll, scroll, watch, scroll, 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 boom, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours have gone by. Okay. Again, let me reiterate, the algorithm that is designed by social media is for users to stay as long as possible on their platform. And although it's free, right? It's free. Well, it's not technically free. There's a price to be paid. Let me explain this. The algorithm for whatever platform, social media platform that you use, wants you to stay in that platform and not go to other platforms. Why? The more you stay on a particular platform, the longer you stay on a particular platform, they can then curate the kinds of ads that will be targeted towards you. Now, how will they know that? Well, depending on the content that you watch more, share more, like more, or interact with and give comments more, you get more of that kind of content. So when you get more of that kind of content, then the products and services will be curated so that they could be personalized for someone that meets your profile. So the longer you stay on a particular platform, the more they get advertised to you, more targeted ads. And that's actually the cost of social media. It's not just about the time you spend, it's about the targeted ads based upon your profile that you're giving them every time you actually watch the content and interact with it. That's how the algorithm works. Sorry again, I have a bit of technical issue with moving forward on these things. Okay, one moment. All right. So now what happens is this. Over time, particularly for the Gen Zs, okay, you have something called the life satisfaction gap. If you notice what is posted on social media, it is highlight reel, isn't it? No one actually posts how they truly are. They post a highlight reel, or worse still, they make things up. They set up a scene, okay, and they do a bit in order for you to watch and observe. So when people do that, it's not a true reflection of reality. Nevertheless, it is something that captures our attention, which is the aim, and makes us stay on the platform. Okay, now, what happens in this case? Well, when do we reach for social media? When we are bored, when we are anxious, when we need a distraction. Social media, in that sense, can be useful. Okay, but when we reach for our phones, as an example, when we're anxious or like we are bored, then what happens? We use the app as a psychological refuge. We use this to calm ourselves down, to distract ourselves. Okay, basically, we are not coping in a way that is directed towards what the problem is, but we're trying to run away. And it can be helpful. However, the more time we spend on such apps, then it takes the time away and displaces the meaningful tasks that we are supposed to be doing, which then increases the stress. And when we increases the stress, we get more anxious and and the cycle then continues. So we end up with the procrastination crisis. So again, if you were to look on the right side of the screen, the 2025 Gen Z well-being indicators. Okay, so if you look at these numbers are very, very high. 87% report a negative impact on mental health and even higher for women. Okay, 85% feel unsatisfied with their own lives due to the curated digital perfection. Please know and that everybody who posts will post the best version of themselves, will post an AI improvement or generated image, will actually have the best lighting, will actually have the best editing. It's not real life. But because we see it so much, and then we compare ourselves in regards, we don't match up and we feel even worse after that. Okay. Now, 45% do worry about their social media addiction, which is good, but they may not know what to do about it. Now, 31% is addicted to doom scrolling as well as negative news consumption. I acknowledge I'm one of those people. I like to consume news to find out what's actually happening in the world. The problem is the news nowadays, you have different points of view depending on who owns the company. So that's a bit tough as well. Then 73% experience physical health and sleep harm, reducing cognitive resilience. The longer and more time you spend on social media, the worse your health outcomes are as well along the way. So the WHO 2024 Gender Divide in Digital Harm surveyed 280,000 youth and found that 13% of youth report problematic addiction like social media use, with 44% of 15-year-old girls in particular report being constantly online. Their lives are essentially almost more important online than in real life. Not to mention, there's also, for the guys though, the 16% severe risk for problematic and compulsive gaming. Okay, so both aspects of these things of how we utilize social media and how much we spend online is actually increasing for both the social media side as well as the gaming side as well. Okay, last few slides for the adult population. So you might think, you know what, these are problems only for the youth. Not necessarily so. So I'm in this particular population, the adult working population. And for us, we utilize social media. We are connected online. We are on Teams. We are on WhatsApp with our colleagues as well. That's a good thing. That's what we taught. The problem is that being able to be contacted 24/7 doesn't give us any peace of mind at all. We are connected not purposely to connect to social media or gaming, but we are still connected to social media to be contacted for work-related purposes. So particularly when we have also remote work, particularly when we work from home, right? And in the evenings and on weekends as well, any one of our colleagues or even our bosses may contact us and ask for a report or ask to prepare something. So there's no boundary anymore. And that keeps our minds constantly busy and wears us out. Okay, so that can lead to functional burnout, chronic insomnia, as well as profound social isolation because Even when we are with our families, we are doing work-related stuff. We are writing reports. We're preparing invoices or documents as well. And you can see that more and more happening as well. So being a working adult can lead to digital burnout really, really quick, because being always on has a very extreme cognitive load on us. We can't be in the present moment with our families. We are constantly being diverted, our attention is diverted away to what we need to do. Okay, so although social media and online tools are great for the flexibility of work, but that comes with a heavy cost as well. And lastly, the senior group. The senior group, they have lived most of their lives not with digital devices and not with social media, as an example. However, the idea and the concept of having anything at the touch of their fingertips, as an example, really, really stands out. So basically, one of the key factors that differentiate the older population is that they've stopped working, so they have a lot more time on their hands. Okay, and many times they may not, whatever's on TV and stuff like that may not be something that they are interested to watch, because a lot of this content is geared towards the younger population. So what do? They go online. But then going online with not much of the background or the true understanding of how the internet works makes them under pressure to get into trouble. And these are the vulnerabilities that they may actually face. For example, misinformation and congeniality bias. So again, the way social media works, for example, is that if you engage with a particular type of story, whatever it may be, you get more of those kinds of stories. If you have a particular political affiliation, right, and you like particular stories against the other group, as an example, then you actually get more curated content to prove and show what you are doing or what your belief system is right and the other is wrong. So it makes the divisions between people even worse. Okay. Not to mention, they also don't know what things are AI generated and what things are real or not. Okay, many advertisements, for example, my mom has been in this situation, look like news articles. Okay, or they splice news intros with AI generated content that try to sell you something, and they think that's news. They can't differentiate. So then they're open to scams and fraud susceptibility as well, because they can't differentiate between the AI generated fake, as an example. Okay. Then there's also the fact of the illusion of truth. This is very scary. The more you receive something again and again and again, the more you believe it's true. It doesn't matter whether it's false or there's no way it's going to be true. The way social media works is you like something, it bombards you more with it, and then you start to block out every other alternate explanation for things, and now this becomes the true or truth of whatever that you're looking at. And that's the illusion of truth. And lastly, for identity reconstruction, one of the ways that affect the elderly, as an example, is because when they see other people doing fun things, doing traveling and stuff like that, it will also affect them, because they recognize they have not many years left, and therefore they also don't want to lose out. So the fear of missing out is very, very strong. So they want to be able to do things as well. So they could be happy with who they were before, but now with social media, they compare themselves and they want to change or reconstruct their identity into something else, whereby they too can get the likes, they too can get the support and the admiration of other people around. Yeah. So just want to give this platform, this idea that all across all age groups, we are looking at issues. We are looking at challenges along the way. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this on for a while and then pass it back to the organizers. Thank you. I wanted to give that introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Alex, for the detailed insights on different generations from both technical, behavioral, psychological standpoints. I think they're quite relevant for all of us, especially the procrastination crisis and the endless cycle. I can totally relate to that. So, all of everything that you shared is definitely something for us to reflect on. So now we will move on to our discussion segment where our group members will explore how different digital addiction affects like different groups and different contexts. So to start us off, I think Effie has some questions that she would like to ask and discuss with Mr. Alex. Also, everyone, if you have any questions that you would like to ask Mr. Alex, please submit them via the Slido for the Q&A section. So I'll hand it over to Effie now.
I feel we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I had my mic muted just now. Okay. Hi, Mr. Alex.
Effie.
Thank you for your time to be with us today. I have a question. Actually, I had three just now, but you answered both of mine just now in
Oh,
your
okay.
talk just now. So, I was curious because, like, since phones and gadgets are now such a normal part of our daily lives, and many parents nowadays they struggle to manage the screen time for their kids at home. So I'm just wondering, like, based on your experience, what advice would you give to parents who is feeling that their child is like constantly glued to their phones or their gadgets?
Okay, being a parent myself, I have given my kids tablet. Make sure it's fully charged. Make sure you got internet connection. Okay, I'm realistic. Okay. The effect that it has is that as I think I mentioned this, that the kids just kind of like get to it and then they want it, and then there's withdrawal symptoms when we use that as a punishment. When the kids don't behave, we take away. So I've seen that happen as well. That doesn't help the kids. Okay. One of the things that I struggle with when I give parenting talks as well is the fact that parents model the appropriate behaviors or parents model the inappropriate behaviors as well. So one of the challenges that when I talk to parents when they complain about their kids is actually, parents, please, it starts with you. So this is where the problem starts. So what I actually encourage the parents is that, look, I know you're busy. I get it. Okay. But there are times that you can set during the day. So meal times. Okay. Meal times are maybe designated get together to do household chores times. Maybe there are again, I would say like exercise or just a walk, going out for a walk or park, that kind of stuff, right? Digital device free. Make those times without any devices so that you can use the device when you need to, but other than that, let's all put it aside. Now, it's very, very hard. I've tried this with my family myself, and I'll be honest, what happens, we go to a restaurant, and the first thing we do once we make the order is phones. Okay, and I'm like, oh no, and I'm like, since no one's talking, I also pull out my phone. That's not helpful. So I recognize that itself. So what I started doing differently is that I started asking my kids, how's their day? Like really asking and really listening. And this is one of those opportunities where during each of these times, right, it's not just doing a task, but actually having that time together. So everybody complains about lack of quality time. But in those few minutes while waiting for the orders to arrive, as an example, what we started doing is we started talking and asking each other about our day. Just something like that. So it's not something that you can find online, the answer, but we start to engage, really engage. So other than that, yes, we let them have their devices, including for ourselves. But there are certain times that we do this so that we don't have devices and we engage so that they also develop the social skills and they also feel like they are heard as a person, as a child, that, and of course, I do this with my wife as well. When we talk, we don't have on devices. Okay, the first thing we do is, like, if I'm on my laptop, like, oh, my wife wants to talk. Okay, I close the lid. Okay, or my wife's watching something on Netflix and I want to talk, and okay, she'll turn it off. So we made that deal so that we don't have a device in between us, but we give each other full attention. And during those times, it may be a bit scary or boring at first, but the reality is after some time, right, we actually truly appreciate that, because in our busy day, when we make time for each other, we really learn to appreciate one another even more. So it's kind of like a roundabout way of answering, but basically what I'm saying is carving out time, quality time, and engaging with one another to actually fulfill the social needs of each other as well. Yeah, because social media can't replace this. Social media is one-way street, but when you engage, it's a two-way street.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alex, for sharing. I feel
Sure.
like that is really insightful, and like many parents would actually implemented like some of the methods you have mentioned, like setting like screen time limits during like meal times. I feel like that is quite common these days. Like parents use that to control their kids' screen time.
At least
Thank you.
at least for a little while, so that they don't always reach for their phone or their device. But
Yeah.
there are certain times where they can learn to live away from, but then they can go back to it after that. So that the focus will be on each other. Yeah. So is there anything else?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alex. Now, I also have a question for you, specifically about Gen Zs. So, yeah. So actually, there's two other questions, but you also already gave the answers to these earlier in your talk. So, I would like to ask. So, a lot of us university students, we are all Gen Z, right? So, personally, I've been struggling with procrastination, and due to the fact that I'm always having to check my phone, because, like, you know, when the notification comes up, it's like automatic that I reach for my phone. Or even when I don't have notifications on, it's like instinctually, I just want to check my phone all the time. Do you have any tips that may be able to help me or the audience with this issue?
Yes. Okay. Number one, actually, I'm following up from what Aditya mentioned earlier about when he was presenting some information as well. The fact that, like he was mentioning, he was trying to reach for a particular app, but then he actually clicked the social media app as an example. Okay, so one of the things, and guys, seriously, if any of you are having this issue, I would suggest this, and you can do it right now, in fact. So you know where you have your apps located, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it may be, right? The icon, put that in a folder where it's not normally located, and then put it somewhere else. So basically what I want to do is to create what I call friction and more steps for you to get to the point to activate something rather than just automatically have it on. Okay, so put your social media apps into a folder and then move that folder to an uncommon place. It's a bit hard. You have to scroll after some time, after all the apps, right? Put it somewhere deep in there so that if you wanted to actually use it, you still can, but it's not automatic where you just reach for it and so easy to click. So take it away from your front screen as an example, but put it in a folder, put it somewhere else instead, just to slow you down. The fact that you had to then click and scroll and click makes you, in that few moments, make you want to think like, do I really need this? Do I want it? If I really do, go ahead. But if that can slow you down a little bit to just put some other thoughts in between, that helps actually to decide. Secondly, I hear you about the notifications. One of the simplest things that have been suggested is also turn off all notifications. Now, I know your generation works on messages. I get it. My generation works a bit different. My generation is like, if it was that important, you would call me. Okay. Other than that, leave a message. Fine. But if it's so important, then you would call me. So updates from, whichever K-pop artist I'm following, they're not going to respond. Okay, I can wait for later. Some funny meme shared by my mom, not important, can wait for later. Okay, so those kind of things doesn't need the immediacy that we are giving it. I think we have been trained a bit too much. Unfortunately, I had to use the words like rats in the lab to respond to every notification because, again, there is that feedback and dopamine loop whereby, what if it's something important? What if it's something fun? I don't want to lose out. So fear of missing out is a big deal as well. But let me ask you this for every one of you watching as well. I'm sure that you have experienced sometimes the fear of missing out on some major event or something. Okay? If you had missed it though, was it that bad? Did your life end? I don't think so, right? Yeah, maybe you missed something out. Maybe you missed out on a great deal. Yes. But did you need that item or that service in the first place? If you really didn't need it, that means you didn't actually needed to have to give the attention to it. So one of the things that I would suggest, as I said, go ahead in your phone settings, seriously turn off all notifications. A phone call will get through. If somebody really needs you, they will call. If somebody, if there is an emergency, let's say today a lot of floods, let's say, you may get a notification, but a message, and then people will actually call to verify. But other than that, we actually don't need to give it as much attention. Okay, so one of the things about this is if we are constantly acknowledging and grabbing onto notifications, let's say you do this today, you just go through and say, could I have let it wait? Could I not respond so quickly? If you start to realize that, then you're like, you know what, I can turn this notification off. And then you slowly do that one by one with all the apps that we had there. Because a lot of apps, by default, notifications are on. But that way we can't live our lives because it's a constant bombardment and we're not at peace. Okay, so also in terms of procrastination, every time you want to focus on doing something and then notification comes up, it distracts us. That actually breaks our concentration. And every time it distracts us, we want to respond to that. And every time we do that, we actually move away from what we're supposed to be doing. So don't think of procrastination as any weakness, but look at it as a distraction that you want to manage. So if we can cut down on the notifications and the automatic response to it will allow us time just to be and just to focus and get work done. And if it was that important, they would call. That's what I would suggest. But again, put the icon deep somewhere in some hidden folder somewhere. So you have to, it's going to make it quite hard for you to get to it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Alex. So what I'm hearing is that actually it takes a lot of self-awareness and self-reflection to first take the first few steps.
Yes, very, very much. But that, if you can make that step today, it shows that you want to take control and you're on the right path. Again, so I'm not stopping you, but I'm just suggesting put more layers in between yourself and the app. That's all.
Okay, thank you. So moving on, I think my other group mates also have some questions.
Sure. By the way, anyone online, if you have any thoughts or opinions as well, please feel free. I'd like to hear them as well.
Hello, Mr. Alex. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Anna, yes.
I have two questions to ask, and from what we've covered today, most of the focus has been on social media addiction, right? Which is definitely one of the most common forms of digital dependency among people nowadays. However, I was also wondering about other domains of digital addiction, such as video game or online gambling addiction, since this can also have serious effects on mental health, behavior, relationships, and even academic or work performance. Do you think these areas should be talked about more often or given equal attention in research and awareness campaigns?
Okay, great question. I have actually one short slide. If you don't mind me, let me just share real quick on this one. Okay. Okay, so this is when we think of social media, right? We tend to think of just you know, TikTok, the Instagram, that kind of stuff. But what is has actually found to be even more devastating impact is actually gaming as well as gambling. So there's a connection between the two, where games nowadays are taking on the elements of gambling, so that when even though it's a, so to say, an innocent game that's being played, but the elements, the gamification elements, have taken on the gambling characteristics, so that a simple example, right? Whatever game you may be playing, because my daughters were into a lot of these games, right? So number one, there could be the pay to play. So yes, you have the free version, but you can only get up to a certain level. You want to unlock the other levels, you have to pay. That's not so bad because they make it obvious you have to pay to unlock things. But what's worse is that when you pay or you subscribe, let's say, you may get one of many versions and you don't know which one. So it's like gambling. So it starts with innocent play, but then later it goes into what we call loot boxes, monetized mechanics. So you have to pay, but once you pay, you don't pay for what you get. You pay for something that you would like to get, but you may get an alternative as well. Okay, so even my youngest daughter, she's into K-pop, and she likes to buy her favorite band albums. But the bands have so many different versions of the albums. So when she buys, right, she doesn't know which one she's going to get. And then even like the posters inside, she doesn't know which one she's going to get. And that makes it frustrating for people. So even simple things like buying your favorite characters or your favorite universe, right? When you go to a lot of the malls now, when you buy blind boxes. You don't know which one you're going to get. So these things, these game mechanics have changed, whereby it's like gambling, right? But it's not overt gambling. But then we go downwards. Once we get people to get this to be normalized, now we can get them from innocent play to monetized mechanics to esports betting, as an example. So everything and anything can be bet right now. So I just take badminton as an example. It doesn't mean you can bet just like you could bet last time on who could win and who would lose. But now you can actually bet if the game goes to 2 games or 3 games. It could also be what's the point difference. You could bet on anything nowadays. So people like that high of trying to think that they can have control over their lives and actually implement whatever tactics or rumors that they hear into making a decision. But the problem is because these are generally unregulated platforms, right? There isn't any protections. There isn't any limitations. Everyone can do whatever they want. They can bet on anything that they want. So the problem then is that people, starting with just innocent gameplay from just gaming, slowly goes down this spiral to get to actual gambling. And gambling gives the illusion of skill as if you did it, you accomplished it. But actually, it's the gamification elements are designed for you to feel empowered. But actually, it was already straight down a particular pathway whereby it's training your brain to actually get involved and get used to a particular way of thinking and doing. Eventually, being comfortable with letting go of money for particular purposes. So actually, there has been a recent report that found that there's a 1,500% surge in addiction helpline calls for gamers who transition to gambling, not in a formal sense, but in the informal sense, and they're losing money along the way. And this has been increasing all around the world. So simple things like loot boxes, or a surprise boxes or stuff like that. You don't get what you want, so you try again, and you end up paying so much more money for that. So more and more governments are starting to regulate, and they're starting to find issues with whatever is happening here. But again, let me just maybe just to answer that as well. All this, what we've talked about so far, can lead to AI dependence, right? And because it's not just about AI, it's also about social media, whereby we actually have attachment disorders, okay, and dependency syndromes as well. And all these things have come to the point where if we don't do anything now, it's going to get worse because it's so much a part of our daily lives as well. Okay, so yes, this is something that's starting to be looked into, but not as much yet. But the effects are already felt. A lot of people are feeling very helpless in society, so they turn to gambling in its various forms to possibly increase their chances of getting a low investment but high payback. But that doesn't work mathematically for everyone. Somebody's going to win, but then that means everybody else is going to lose. And that's the danger. Yeah, Hannah, does that answer your question in a way?
Yeah, that's answer my question. Thank you for so right now I would say that video games and gambling is such a serious issue to also we need to pay lots of attention to it. So I will pass the other questions to my group members. Thank you, Mr. Alex, for
You're
answering.
welcome. You're welcome.
Hello. Hi, Mr. Alex.
Hey
Thank you so
there.
much for talking. So just now you also kind of mentioned about seniors and how because they're retired and they have so much more time on their hands, they also kind of fall into the pit of digital addiction with short form content and stuff like that. This mainly comes as a concern to me because personally, right? My own father has kind of also, I see him daily on the sofa watching like Facebook, YouTube shorts, all this, and he's
Mm.
gotten like really into dieting and like food. So I always hear like videos telling about like how good something like asparagus is or like some
Ah,
random miracle food. And then I feel like he's going to order it. And I'm pretty sure he has like started implementing these lifestyle changes that is like recommended to him online that I feel like are I'm not sure
yeah.
if the information is safe or, 100% proven. So
Yes.
what do you think about that?
Okay, so thank you for bringing up this very relevant question. I battle this every week with my mom. She also will watch some new health thing and then, oh, this is good, and then, okay, so let me give you a scenario. So I'm sure you guys have heard of this concept of um, fasting, right? And when you fast, the body automatically comes up with something called implements something called autophagy, which is basically the cells, the healthy cells will eat away and discard of the unhealthy cells within the body. So fasting activates autophagy, which then clears off the dead cells, which makes us more youthful and makes us healthier, which is true, by the way. The problem with all these short form content videos and all the people that are saying it is that none of them give the protocol for how long you should be fasting. So humans taking a bit of information will go like this. Fasting leads to autophagy, which clears the dead cells, which gives me longevity, which is good. That's logical. Problem when you don't have a protocol, a scientific based protocol, what happens in the end is this. So the longer I fast, the more autophagy I get, the more dead cells are cleared, the healthier I am. Therefore, I should fast as long as possible. And what does that mean? Not eating for 48 hours, not eating for 3 days, 4 days. Hello. Your body then breaks down your own muscle tissue and your own cells in order to feed the body, which means you're going to end up even worse off than before health-wise. So a lot of these, the elderly, they hear a snippet of something that is somewhat based in science, but they don't have the protocol for it, and that's so dangerous. So I've had long conversations with my mom, for example, who wants to take care of her health, understandably so, that I then have to search to give her the kind of protocols that she's following, to give her some semblance of control. But I try to tell her, look, this may be good in the short term, but what is the long term? Where is the end point? And what are we trying to do here? So every week I will find out a new video she's watched, and therefore some new information, but not guided nor managed properly. And that can become very, very dangerous. So a lot of, I would say at least 99.5% of all content in short form content online gives a spark about something that could be helpful to someone. That's why you get it for your algorithm. Problem, they don't give the protocol. Neither do they quote the exact studies, which actually are controlled studies, evidence-based studies, to give proper guidance. Okay, what they want is for you to keep scrolling to hopefully see part 2, keep scrolling to hopefully see part 3, and onwards. So that's a dangerous thing. So what I try to do then is I don't want to stop my mom from doing these things. However, when I find out whatever she's on or is interested in, I then do the research to help her navigate and understand the protocols. Because a lot of times they don't necessarily have the understanding. Okay, because again, over time, when someone's older, their cognitive decline is increasing. So they take something simple and then they think that's true. And again, they can't differentiate between somebody trying to sell them a product or service, or AI, something is AI generated, for example. One thing that came on my feed a lot the past few months was Tai Chi walking, Tai Chi exercises, and then you can have amazing body from that. It's like, no, that doesn't work, but it was all on our social media as an example. So we, those who understand what's going on, need to be able to guide the other generations, but let's say even in this case, the older generation, to differentiate what is truth, what is fact, and even if it's true, what are the protocols, what are the limitations? Again, my concern is, that's another one that I've seen recently. Vitamin D can help in so many things, and yes, it is true. However, because of these videos where people take supplementation of vitamin D, the more that they take, the more they poison themselves, because vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin, which means that if your body doesn't use it, it gets stored in your fat cells, and therefore over time becomes toxic. But people don't understand that, oh, vitamin D can do this, can do that. So the more I take, the better the outcome. No, it doesn't work that way. So we have to be educated consumers, because there is no safeguards out there to differentiate if someone's telling a lie or not. No, there's no repercussions, unfortunately. So this is where I think us, right, or anyone who's interested in these kind of things, take the time and effort to do a bit of research to guide those who have particular thoughts on things, okay, so that they can do it safely, but also to counter them. I mean, this is what I do. Because yes, I absolutely hear you. They will follow a trend and then they think that's helpful, and then they will have images of people so healthy and vital doing the same thing, but it's not necessarily true. Which is, I'm very frustrated about that. But yeah, my mom's on Facebook a lot and she gets a lot of this. Absolutely, including on YouTube.
Yeah, I share your frustration in that sense. But yeah, I think it is very important for the ones that are, guiding them and doing the actual research for them.
Right, because if we were to guide them to different websites, they wouldn't know how to decipher what's going on. So I would look at it this way. The time spent for me doing that to educate and support my mom shows, hopefully I show her I care for her, I love her, okay? And this is also quality time together and gives us something solid to talk about as well. So it's a good thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I really like the way that that was very insightful. So thank you so much. I think we
Welcome.
have some questions from the Slido that I think the audience would like you to answer.
Sure, I'll try.
Yeah, so can shopping addiction be attributed to digital addiction in some way?
Okay, I'm guilty of this. I'm the first guy, 1-1 sale, 2-2 sale, 3-3 sale. Surprisingly, there's no 4-4 sale. Well, then there's 5-5 sale as an example, okay? So I only shop during these times. Yes, I do. Okay, and I go on it every day to collect the points, okay? And the coins, I do. However, I started realizing that my credit card bill became very, very high. And I started questioning, like, okay, do I really need this? Do I really need that? And once I started doing it, it's like, okay, what am I going to do? What's my strategy? Strategy, yes, I will try to shop and control my shopping only at these specific dates. Why? Because usually they have better deals. Number two, I will collect coins, but I won't buy anything because if I don't need to, I don't need to. Okay, but I'm collecting the coins that I can then change and use it and collect the vouchers that I can use so that when it comes to something I really want, then I will buy it that way. So for example, my phone, I just give you an example. So how you can manage things so that you can take advantage of it rather than it taking control of you. So I like the Samsung Galaxy. Okay, so I actually have the S23. Okay, I bought the S23 the moment the S24 was launched because the S23 price would go down. And I also collected all the vouchers and waited for that particular date so that I could get additional 10% off. So I actually got it very, very cheap, as an example. So what I'm saying is rather than let the digital addiction of shopping take control over you, you can turn it on its head and take advantage of, when there are good deals. So you keep your purchases or your intentions to purchase something during those dates and times. So now you are more in control. Okay. But you also are very clear when you do this, what's your budget so that you work within that budget. And then once you do that, you are now taking full advantage of the opportunity to get it cheaper compared to elsewhere rather than buying something you actually don't need. So this is this is also what I do. Sometimes after I get the product, then I'm like, oh, did I really need this? Then you actually have to start to think. So again, the idea is if you can put more layers of thought between the actual decision and the process, that would slow you down. So many times, what I've also done is this. I admit, I will put something into the cart, and I won't pay it back yet. I won't buy it yet. I'll just leave it in the cart, and then I see the next day, oh, it's still in the cart. Do I need it? It sounded like a good deal, but actually I don't need it. Then I remove it from the cart. So I stop myself from paying straight away. But I put something in the cart and leave it a bit of time before I actually pay. So that allows me to sometimes fulfill my impulsivity, but then give it a gap of time to then have more decision making coming in so that it doesn't take control of me. So recently there was something I wanted to buy. It was so cheap, it was amazing. I put it in my cart. I waited 2 days. Then I took it away from my cart. I actually didn't need it. So I just needed a bit of time to fulfill that impulse. And then after that, yeah, let the cognition come in and then decide on to. So that's how I manage it. But yeah, I do shop for specific products on specific times. That actually shows control, surprisingly. It's not actually giving into addiction. You're actually taking advantage of the situation. Okay. Hopefully that answers the question. So
Yeah, I think that answered it very well. And I think for the sake of time, we might not be able to answer the rest of the questions. So,
okay, so this one is okay. Let me just say this is
oh, okay,
very
sure.
big question. The second one, it's too big. But having said that, keep in mind this. Just very simple. If when you're gaming and you can't play on an equal playing field, you bought the game is yours. But in order to unlock further things, in order to increase your chances, and you have to pay additional money for something you already paid for, start to question if you really need that. Okay. Or if it's a free version and then you have to pay for additional things, then it's not an equal thing. So how much are you willing to pay? I'm not willing to pay. Because if I bought a game, I want everything that comes along with it. Because it's mine. Okay. But if I have to pay for more, unlock more, and then try to get this or try to get that, know that you've already gone into gambling because now you're putting in money for something you may not get back in return. And then you have to buy again and again. That is how they trap you. So once it feels that way, you are in the gambling zone. Stay away if you can. Don't support games like this.
Yeah, I hear you. So thank you so much for that, Mr. Alex.
You're welcome. Sorry, seeing a comment now. May I please respond to Mr. Kamar real quick?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, he's written in the chat. Okay, I bought PS5 but rarely play. I
Is
feel
it Mr.
wasted.
Alex?
Yeah, Mr. Kamar, hi. Yeah, I just like to
Hello, hi,
address
Mr. Alex.
this.
Thank you so much. I mean, I really like your strategy just now. I mean, I felt the same way when it comes to like Shopee, Lazada. Sometimes I put everything in my cart and then I just wait until it's really cheap, have more promotion. I will buy it lah.
Yeah.
But my case right now, I bought PS5, but I rarely play it. I feel like, oh my god, such a waste of money. I bought the PS5.
You just need the right group of people. Then it'll be a worthwhile investment. You can bring people together to your place, for example. Call me.
Sure.
Yeah. So again, sometimes even if it's a bad decision after the fact, the reality is, you could look around and see if somebody else could better benefit from something like this. Maybe that you could, if you really wanted to sell, you could sell it, or you could reuse it in a way that, opening up to the channels to friends and colleagues and stuff like that, or even, make it, hey, bring it to office, see what we can do together. To think of something unique as well. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to say that one of the key things about all these things, right, guys, just want to maybe end with this, is the reframing of the concept. If you find that social media or any sorts of these addictions are taking a lot of your time and you want to change it, don't go back to social media. Don't go back to that addiction. You got to find an alternate way to do something else or do something differently. But you have to first determine if you want to make that change, and two, if it's something that's very important to you. If it is, then give yourself a bit of digital detox, and then ultimately just with the quietness of things, right, and not being with notification and everything, ask yourself, what else would you like to do with your life? What other hobbies or interests that you would like to explore and expand and get into? And then start doing that. Because at the end of the day, keep in mind this fact. Anything of the digital nature, right, that we are actually passive consumption of things. It's a one-way street. Okay, it doesn't matter what we do with it, it's still passive. But if we can make it interactive, okay, or we can do something with other people, that's where things and makes it becomes life is actually more involving and actually helps us from a social aspect, but also gives us more benefits as well. Because I always tell my daughters this, your social media that you keep scrolling, guess what? It's going to be there tomorrow and day after. It doesn't need you right now. So it's something that you can put aside actually. It actually doesn't change your life.
Thank you, Mr. Alex, for the answering the questions, for the discussion, and also for the brief close-up summary. And we would also like to thank you for taking the time to speak with us today and for sharing your insights in such a relatable and also engaging way. So before
welcome.
we conclude, we will now have a quick photo session. So if you guys could all just turn on your cameras and pose a bit. Okay. Thank you, guys. So we'll ask you to take a moment to fill out the feedback form that will be shared with you. Your feedback is very important to us and it will help us improve. Once again, thank you all for your participation and thank you to Mr. Alex. We hope that today's seminar has helped you all to reflect on your digital habits and take a step towards a more balanced and mindful use of technology. Have a great day ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks to the team for organizing this. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you
Alex.
for
Even though you already had a previous seminar before this, then thank you
It's
so
okay.
much.
This is good. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks.